Whether you like it or not, people are part of your spiritual growth, and people are part of your brain health. Yeah. I'm Pastor Brenda. It is an honor to meet you in this space. If you're liking this series, hit like, hit subscribe. We're going to be doing some more brain science stuff for the next few weeks here. So your brain health, which we call it lead your brain. We have this God-given authority to lead your brain, and your good vagal tone all grow stronger inside of God's trustworthy love. So we got your brain health, and we got this vagus nerve, just a review, that runs from our brains down to our gut, through our hearts, through our lungs. It's a big nerve. And this is communicating all kinds of stuff from our brain to our gut. Scientists call our gut the second brain. And you feel decisions in your gut because this vagal nerve is just transferring messages back and forth, back and forth. If you're in stress, a lot of messages there. If you're calm messages are going back and forth. Your gut is like your second brain. Both of these grow and calm through trusting God and resting in His love, because it shifts our brains out of constant stress and survival mode, and it creates safety and allows our brain to heal from patterns of fear and shame. This brain heals. God made our brains this way, and we can heal these patterns of fear and shame and actually grow. So to learn God's love and move our bodies into safety involves relationships with people. It just does. Question, not a trick question, but I'm going to ask you, what is the one time in the Bible when God does something on His own without people's help? Now, God does something with the Trinity. He's always in a relationship. But there's one event in the Bible where God didn't use people to help accomplish His sovereign will. Do you know when that is? It's creation. Ever since creation, God willingly does everything here on earth through us, His people. This is how we take care of each other, how we grow the church, how we spread the message of Jesus, how we take care of the animals, how we take care of the climate, how we take care of each other. God's plan and what God does is work through us every time. So our spiritual formation is through other people, because that's how God designed us to grow. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. There's lots of reasons, but I'm going to point out a couple. One, loneliness lies to you. There are seasons of loneliness, and then there are times when loneliness gets prolonged. It's during those prolonged times that the brain changes to self-preservation. Instead of leading your brain to health, it changes to self-preservation. And you start becoming hypervigilant to social threats. So I start seeing threats everywhere, whether they're true or whether they're false. But if I've been lonely for too long, my brain goes to self-preservation, and then I walk into a lunchroom, I see threats everywhere, whether they're true or false, because my brain is moved that way. I become like the animal on the edge of a herd. I feel vulnerable, believing the possibility that everyone is going to hurt me. Have you ever had a friend who is so far down the loneliness hole that they can't even trust you enough to make a first step? This is why we need people. We need to prevent this happening in our brains. Our brains are strengthened when they're mirrored to other like-minded people. Got more on that coming up. And people are just straight up a part of our spiritual formation. So I've mentioned twice before in previous teachings about this neuroscience called two-person neuroscience. Two-person neuroscience is the idea that our brains and nervous systems are shaped in relationship and not in isolation. You can't just be home on your couch doing church. Now, we do church through Zoom together, and we're on our couches sometimes, but we're together face to face to face to face in conversation. Watch that pattern here. Regulation, meaning, and even healing don't happen only inside one person. They emerge between people through presence, tone, facial expression, timing, and attunement. From infancy through adulthood, our nervous systems are constantly reading and responding to other nervous systems. In this framework, safety is not something we manufacture alone. It is often borrowed from someone who is calm, attentive, and emotionally available. Think about this. You know it is true. And this is also true. You can also mirror someone's stress and anxiety. If you have relationships that are just in constant stress or constant anxiety, and you wonder why you're feeling stressful, because you're mirroring that person who you love. This is what we do. This is why being seen, heard, and responded to with care can regulate stress more effectively than logic or self-talk. So this is that implicit belief and explicit belief. We're going to talk more about this coming up. We talked more about this in this other series right here. Explicit belief says, I'm an overcomer. I am God's child and I'm going to win today. I'm going to go into work and I'm going to, it's this self-talk, it's explicit belief, it's on the surface level. Implicit belief is what's happening in your gut. And you can say all the self-talk that you want, but the implicit belief kind of tells you who you really are and what's really going on. And mirroring other people really does more good for us than any of this self-talk or any logic. You could be sitting home by yourself on the couch, giving yourself all the logical reasons why it's going to be okay with whatever's going on in your life. And it's true. That logic is all true. But when someone tells you the exact same thing and you get to mirror with that person, all of a sudden it seems possible. This is what I'm talking about. Two-person neuroscience helps explain why relationships can both wound and heal. Disconnection dysregulates us. Disconnection breaks our heart. But attunement, attachment to somebody, that can restore us. We're formed and reformed, not just by what happens to us, but by who is with us when it happens. And you know that is true too. One of the people in my church sent me some research from Springer Nature Link. It's a global research firm. I'm just going to read to you their conclusion. Be ready to be amazed. Quote, "This research quietly affirms something the church has claimed for centuries. How we live matters, not just spiritually, but holistically. Strengths of moral character like kindness, integrity, self-control, and acting for the good of others are not simply nice virtues. They are practices that shape the nervous system, the soul, and even long-term health. Faith communities are uniquely positioned to cultivate these strengths through worship, community life, confession, forgiveness, service, and shared meaning. What stands out is that moral character is relationally formed. The strongest health associations were not tied to private moral resolve alone, but to character lived out in a community, promoting good, using one's strengths to serve others, and orienting life beyond the self. This reinforces the idea that discipleship is not transactional, as in do the right things, but relational, be formed into love." This is research still. Churches that emphasize belonging, purpose, and embodied practices may be forming healthier people than they realize. And we're going to talk more about our moral choices coming up. But we need people in our lives. Paul would not have become the Paul that we have learned from, who wrote all those letters in the New Testament, who became this great apostle, if it wasn't for Barnabas. Let's read this in Acts 9:26-28. When Saul, and this is the name of Paul before he became Paul, when Saul arrived in Jerusalem, he tried to meet with the believers, but they were all afraid of him. They did not believe he had truly become a believer. Then Barnabas brought him to the apostles and told them how Saul had seen the Lord on the way to Damascus and how the Lord had spoken to Saul. He also told them that Saul had preached boldly in the name of Jesus in Damascus. So Saul stayed with the apostles and went around Jerusalem with them, preaching boldly in the name of the Lord. Saul mirrored who he was going to be through Barnabas. He had this experience with Jesus. He had a big experience with Jesus on that Damascus road. But the apostles, they only knew of Paul as the one that wanted to kill them. And then Saul, who's becoming Paul, is like, I had this experience with Jesus, now what? And Barnabas became the person Paul was able to mirror his life from, and to settle his brain, grow his brain, find that trustworthy love, and grow to be the Paul we learned from. And then when Paul meets the apostles, he's got Barnabas saying, trust me, I know this guy Paul. He has changed, and let's hear him. And then Paul got to mirror his life with the apostles as they traveled around Jerusalem, teaching together. Is that mirroring from Barnabas that helped Paul become who the great apostle that he was. Relationships are at the foundation of God's nature. Since we are created in his likeness, relationship is our most fundamental need, the very foundation of who we are. Without relationship, without attachment to God and others, we can't be our true selves. We can't be truly human. So these mirror neurons are a special type of brain cell that fire not only when we perform an action, but also when we watch someone else perform that same action. This means our brains mirror what we see, allowing us to learn by imitation and to feel what others feel, an important foundation for empathy, connection, and social bonding. And again, note, these mirror neurons also pick up on stress and anxiety. It's a both and here. Mirror neurons help us connect with others by linking observation and experience, showing how deeply wired we are for a relationship. God made us this way. He gave us these mirror neurons so that people can help us grow. Faces matter here. Faces matter here so very, very much. Think about it. When you're in a crowd, okay, you're one person, you're going into, say it's an office party, and you're walking into this room, and you're scanning the crowd for that one person who knows you. And you're walking into that room, and there's anxiousness. You're just looking and looking and looking and looking, and you see that one person. Now you have mirrored yourself to that one person. All of a sudden, you feel joy. You feel peace. And then you walk into the room with that little bit of confidence, or like I say, you have a little bit of vanity, and you can walk into that room and go find your one face that you know. And then this one face introduces you to 6 other faces then you have the confidence, the peace, and the joy to talk to, and you get to know them, and you're mirroring with them. And all of a sudden, you feel safe. Your brain is growing. Your vagus nerve is relaxed. Your gut is calm. It works like that. We are made this way. When we are praying prayers, when you're praying for people who you love, don't you picture their faces? So when you're praying for something that may be dire and hopeless, but you still picture that face, you feel. You're mirroring compassion. You're praying in faith because you don't know what else to do for them, but you love this person, you love this face. You see this, your mirroring is making your prayer life better. We are made by God just like this. And when you are lonely, think about it. You feel unseen. That's why you feel so lonely. And then your brain starts lying to you, and you feel even more unseen because you don't trust anybody. Oh, it's a wicked, wicked, wicked web. But the core of it, when you're lonely, you feel unseen until that day when someone sees you, and it's a different day. God made our brains like this. Ready for some more? Our right brain contains the control center that interprets our group identity and uses it to shape our inner character. The orbital prefrontal cortex on the right side of my brain, behind my right eye, is dominant for integrating my current situation in life with who I am in real time. Every 1/6 of a second, our right brain tries to answer the questions, who am I? And how do my people act now so I can mirror my people? Every 1/6 of a second, our brain needs to know who I am and who are my people. If my control center is working smoothly, my circumstances are integrated with my group identity, I react with joy and peace. I just do. It's a spontaneous thing. Our brains work like this. This is Paul growing like Barnabas. They traveled together for the first couple missionary trips. Can you imagine how Paul was mirroring Barnabas and growing and growing and growing in this situation? But if my control center desynchronizes, I forget who I am and how to connect with those around me. I stop acting like myself. Have you ever been, say, an office party, and you're in a group of people and you have nobody, but it's you? You're trying to synchronize with these people. You got every 1/6 of a second, your brain is trying to synchronize with somebody that says, you belong here. This is who I am. And in doing that, you find yourself acting or saying something you would never say in another crowd. You're saying something that is completely stupid or completely out of your moral character, but you just want that crowd face to say, you belong to us. Because your brain is saying, do you belong here? Do you belong in this crowd? Are you figuring it out? And you do something or say something to fit in. See what I'm talking about here? If my control center desynchronizes, I forget who I am and how to connect with those around me. I stop acting like myself. When Paul met with those Jewish leaders, he at first, I'm sure, was desynchronized. First, those apostles were on Paul's hit list. Oh, how do I belong here? Will these people see me as safe, as an equal? Will they trust me a little bit? But he was desynchronized until he saw Barnabas' face, who vouched for Paul and said, he does belong here. And the apostles synchronized, oh, this guy Paul does belong here. And then strength grew, and literally the church grew just like that. Paul became a better man because of Barnabas and this mirroring he did of Barnabas. Now, let's talk about our moral character. One way to define character is our embedded automatic responses to our relational environment, our instantaneous behavior that flows naturally from our heart. Character is a combination of our known responses, what people have done in the past, and our values, like what do I prefer to do. Character lies in the intersection and identity and values. So basically, character draws from two libraries: our life history of observed responses of how to act, and the values of the people and the groups we choose to identify with. Our brain scans both of these libraries to form spontaneous behavior. When examples from my past match my current values, my brain has found this winning combination It relaxes, the stress stops, the gut stops, and you are with your people and you are growing. You're actually becoming wiser. Group identity forms character by things like mirror neurons and reward pathways, scanning the crowd for those faces who agree with us, like us, and see us. Over time, the group's norms of what is praised and what is frowned upon, how belonging is maintained, gets reinforced in our brains as habits and expectations. This repeated reinforcement wires certain behaviors into our identity so that being honest, generous, or racist can feel natural depending on the group's influence. You hear me on this? Do you see how this happens? In short, who we belong to shapes who we become. A group identity creates the environment where our brains practice and strengthen the pathways that form our character. This is positive peer pressure and negative peer pressure all happening in the brain. And it is really, really good, extra good, if the group of people you're with also love Jesus to help you form this moral character. When our two libraries of life history and the values of our people are in dissonance, we have a chance to grow. This dissonance, or we call it here in this church as holy tension, creates space for discernment, where we can choose what stories will shape us and which ones we will release, which ones we will let go. Let me give you an example. Let me use the example of the biblical ethic is to not have sex before marriage. Now, your library up to this point has been, it's okay to have sex before marriage. That's because it's been reinforced with your family, it's been reinforced with your friends, television, movies, porn. You see this message everywhere. Your friends are behaving this everywhere. But then that library becomes challenged because you meet someone who you trust, you feel safe with. And this person then kind of, you start talking and reveals to you the biblical ethic that's in the Bible on why God says it is not right to have sex before marriage. Now, you know what your library has said. You know what your friends are doing. You know what the culture says to you. But you trust this person who's just explained something that makes sense. And now you have dissonance. You have this holy tension. And now you get to discern, what do I really believe? What moral character am I going to take on? I'm going to continue in this path, but now I know what the Bible says, and this person seems to understand it, and it makes sense to me, but this is this, and this is this. How am I going to... You have just grown. Your brain, you are leading your brain in that moment. Your prefrontal cortex must now figure out the least harmful option to synchronize you with your people. Our brains links the content of a message with our emotional relationship with the messenger. A message delivered for love by someone we respect and trust will be interpreted by our brain differently from the same message delivered by someone we don't respect or trust. Our thoughts, especially challenging thoughts that may inspire us to incorporate changes into our lives, to change our neural pathways, habits, are affected by our emotions. Again, I know this, but I've heard this, and our emotions are heightened, and we're in this dissonance, and are affected by our emotions. But the more you trust me, the more I can challenge your brain. That's why I ask you to like, why I ask you to subscribe. I want you to see this face as I'm challenging your brain with some new thoughts. I'm matching science a lot with it, some Bible thoughts, because God created the science too, and it reveals God in the science. And I want you to be in that holy tension with my face attached to it so that you trust me, so I can put you in that holy tension so that you can lead your brain and grow your life. Also, I'd love to see you at our church. We meet on Friday nights. We meet over Zoom. You come in from wherever you are on your couch and see faces and be a part of us and have this conversation with us. Talk about putting yourself in dissonance when we have these conversations, not everyone's coming from the same place. But we share our wisdom, and we trust the people that we've come to know and love, and we grow. It's a beautiful thing. Or we can meet for a Zoom coffee and begin a trusted relationship that way beyond this video. I'd love that. Remember, Jesus changed the disciples' brains by offering a new life within the context of God's trustworthy love. They began with their brains and what they had learned. Jesus challenged them for 3 years. Imagine that dissonance in their brains, that 1/6 of a second. Who am I? Are these my people? Is Jesus my person? Oh, I knew this, but now I know this. This holy tension. And those 3 years with Jesus, good and the failures, literally changed the world with this Christian message. This brain grew because of people. Our brains develop optimally inside trustworthy love. So I've got one question for you, and I hope you're bursting with things to share. I hope you watch this with people. Your small group, you're doing this as a family devotion, or you're doing this with your roommates, with people. I'm sure your brain is going with all kinds of examples and what you want to share, and okay. But I'm going to say, what have you done when your story didn't fit the expectations of your people? When you're in that dissonance, you're in that holy tension, what did you do? Where do you feel tension between who you are becoming and what you have inherited? How are you growing? How are you leading your brain? Have that conversation. It's going to be a good one. Who is on your life team? Did a whole series on how to find your right life team. Because these people matter. People are part of your spiritual formation. Who you are mirroring is leading your brain. Who your right brain is looking for every 1/6 of a second to tell you who you are and who you belong to. To calm your brain because you're with the people that fit your moral character, the people that are helping you grow and discern and lead your brain. Who are those people? You can't do this faith without people. Your brain growth, your brain health depends on people. It's the way God made us. He made this brain to be restored. He made this brain to change from shame and fear to trust and love. And we do that through the people in our lives. Find those people. Find this church. I say to you, amen. Are you not amazed? Are you not amazed how God made you? See you.